welcome to No BS Baking. My name's JP. Beautiful day here, but I was sitting around and I was thinking, what am I going to do today? And you know what popped into my mind? Let's talk a little bit about staling, bread staling. How can we fix this? How can we extend our shelf life? How can we have better eating quality for a longer period of time? And so this is what this video is going to be about. We're not going to get into mold. That's going to be on another one when I start talking about preservatives, both natural and additives that you can buy. But this here is all about staling, eating quality, moisture in your product, that fresh feel, and giving you a little bit longer, and how to store it properly to maximize your freshness and eating quality into the future. So without any more delay, let's go. So today we're going to talk about staling. Now, staling is a chemical and a physical process, but we're not going to get into the chemical side of things too much. What we're going to focus on is we're going to talk about the physical side, which is the moisture changes that contribute to the staling process. The three areas that we'll be addressing today will be formulation, bake times and temperatures, and storage environments as they pertain to staling. So staling, as we talked about, the physical properties of it is really basically your dough's drying out. Okay, so the idea is to have a decent amount of water in there. Now, if you have a low hydration dough, you don't have as much water in there to begin with. So as the water begins to slowly migrate out towards the crust and then evaporate off the crust, less water means that your dough or your bread will dry out quicker and ultimately stale quicker. Dense, heavy breads or ones with fruit fillings in them, any of these types of things that have grains or fruits inside of them that are water loving will be leaching water from your dough and ultimately drying out the crumb quicker. And that's the reason why soaking fruits and some grains is very important in the dough. Now, sugar content, we're not going to get that into too much, but we know sugar is water loving, so sugar will give you a little bit better anti-staling benefits. It does some trips with the starches and a few other things like this, but in real short, concise terms, sugar extends shelf life and reduces staling somewhat. Now, oil versus emulsified shortening. As we know, many people like to use oil in their bread. Well, oil and water, as we all know, separates. It's through this separation that you get staling. Now, if you're going to eat your bread over 1 or 2 days, tops, you can get away with using oil, and I think that's totally fine. If you want your bread to actually last and give you some good eating quality for, say, 3, 4, or 5 days, then oil is not the best to use. Now, I personally like hydrogenated vegetable shortening over oil, hands down. The big boys use this. Nobody uses really oil when you're mass producing product. Why that is because the hydrogenated vegetable shortenings have emulsifiers in them. They help bind up or lock up that water. There isn't as quickly of a separation of water and oil within the dough system, giving you better shelf life, better eating quality. You get some dough strengthening out of it. There's many, many benefits as I've listed here. Now, some of these vegetable shortenings have been getting a bad rap because they contain partially hydrogenated vegetable oils in them, and these have been known to contain trans fats, which is, of course, not good. But as with any progressive companies, many brands are jumping out of this. They're creating proper vegetable shortenings that contain 0 trans fats. So check your label. Better way to go. You will get way better eating quality and way better shelf life from using a vegetable shortening instead of oil. JP, thanks, but no thanks. I don't want to use vegetable shortening. I want to use olive oil or rapeseed oil. I want to use one of these oil products that are synonymous with healthy living and healthy lifestyles. But I still want to get some anti-staling benefits. How do I do it? Well, the trick is to use natural emulsifiers. Egg yolk has long been known as a natural emulsifier. Lecithin, also completely natural emulsifier used in the baking industry for many, many years, as well as many other parts of the food industry. Milk is water, nutrients, and fat, already in an emulsion, added into your dough, replacing part of your water, and you've got a lovely anti-staling additive to put in there. Now, SSL and mono and diglycerides both have scary sounding names, but they are all from absolutely natural sources, considered clean label additives, and will not only give you fantastic emulsification properties, but they will also give you dough conditioning benefits that will improve the overall performance of your product, both through processing and finished characteristics. Now, long bulk fermentations, things like sourdough, sponges, poolish, things that you add to your flour and in your water and everything before you start all mixing, these also add some very beneficial anti-staling benefits to your product. Now, keep in mind that most of the items that I mentioned up there, they provide emulsification benefits, but are they really a real proper replacement for shortening, vegetable shortening, baker's vegetable shortening? It's debatable. Many people, the industry, I think in general, will say no. Yes, you do get some benefits, but for how long and how well they do, and overall characteristics, nothing beats vegetable shortening in a dough system. One of the big keys of anti-staling techniques is, of course, to try to hold and maintain moisture inside your bread. So don't bake the heck out of it. If you drive off a lot of the moisture and your bread is like, really dry, you've baked it for a really long amount of time or at a really high heat, and it's dry generally kind of just really to begin with, then you can expect it to stale very quickly. Best to watch my video on bake times and temperatures, and I'll give you some realistic guidelines to work with so as that not to do that and dry the heck out of your bread by utilizing crazy temperatures and too long of bake times. So you've made this beautiful loaf of bread, and now you've got three options for storage. One is on the countertop, one is in the refrigerator, like I see many people do, and one, of course, is to put it in the freezer for later use. All bakers would tell you the best place to store your bread is on the counter or in the bread box. The worst place to store it is in the refrigerator. Refrigerator, yes, will reduce mold formation and it'll seem to last a lot longer in there, but the both chemical and the physical staling process are highly accelerated at temperatures just above zero, which is unfortunately where most refrigerators operate. So you're going to have really high staling factor, but your mold formation will be reduced. The second best option is the freezer. Freezer, put it into the freezer and freeze it, and take it out as you need it. If you're going to take out the whole loaf and you're going to eat it in a couple of days, cool. But if you're like me, and I'm the only person who kind of eats bread in my family over here, I'll just take out 4 slices, leave everything in the freezer frozen, and thaw what I want. Don't take the whole loaf out, make a couple sandwiches, run around for a bit, and then put the loaf back in the freezer. Every time you do that, you subject your frozen loaf to these freeze-thaw cycles. You stale it very rapidly. So keep that in mind. We're going to be talking a little bit about partial bake process, and I will be doing a little bit of a video on this coming up very soon. Anybody who knows anything about par bake, it's a lovely way to do it. You can bake a few loaves at a time, partially bake off a couple, and then bake them off a few days or even a week or more later, and it's like you just baked fresh bread. So we'll be covering that off in a video very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you learned a little bit of something out of this one. I always try to give a little bit of information in there that's a little different from some of the other websites. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop me a line. I'd be happy to answer any of your baking questions. And remember, please give me a like and a subscribe down below. It really, really helps with this YouTube stuff, and especially when you're starting off like I am. So thank you. We'll see you again next time on No BS Baking.